As the ever-expanding Marvel Universe continues to produce many shows and movies, sometimes it's beneficial to stop and take a deeper look at a specific character to really nail down who they are and where they came from. Peggy Carter is an MI5 agent who's been popping up as a fan favorite since her introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or MCU, in Captain America: The First Avenger. In this video, we're going to be covering the character of Captain Carter, what's in store for her in the MCU, and just who exactly she is in regards to our other Marvel-based favorite characters. First, let's talk a bit about the history of the character. Like many of the Marvel characters we're used to seeing running and defeating villains, Peggy Carter was first created for comics in Tales of Suspense number 75, where she was an unnamed love interest for Captain America. 2 issues later, in number 77, she's given the name of Peggy Carter and becomes a more well-defined character. After this, they expanded upon her story as she became a much bigger character in the movies and shows of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's been featured in Captain America: The First Avenger, a short film by the name of Agent Carter, 2 seasons of the show What If, and the films Captain America: The Winter Soldier, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Ant-Man, and Avengers: Endgame. In most of her appearances, she has no superpowers, but she does work for both Strategic Scientific Reserve and S.H.I.E.L.D. In the show What If, she ends up taking the Super Soldier Serum instead of Steve Rogers and becomes the superheroine Captain Carter, who sports a similar outfit and shield to Captain America, except with the Union Jack designs rather than American flag designs. She's from the era during World War II and develops a love interest with Steve Rogers back in that time. After Rogers disappears and is presumed dead, she moves on with her life, eventually reuniting with Rogers on her deathbed at the age of 96. In an alternate timeline created during Avengers: Endgame, Rogers travels back in time to stay with Peggy and they grow old together. In What If, we see Peggy become Captain Carter, continue working with S.H.I.E.L.D., and eventually become a founding member of the Guardians of the Multiverse. Started by the Watcher in order to combat Ultron, the Guardians of the Multiverse is comprised of Peggy Carter, also known as Captain Carter, T'Challa, who is this universe's Star-Lord, Thor, Eric Killmonger Stevens, Gamora, Natasha Romanoff, also known as Black Widow, and Stephen Strange, who in this universe is Doctor Strange Supreme. Over her numerous appearances in the MCU, she has always been played by Hayley Atwell, who has received much praise for her performances. Up next, we'll cover why Captain Carter is not who you think she is. As a character who gained massive popularity through her appearances in the MCU, such as Captain America: The First Avenger and Captain America: The Winter Soldier, it's always a cool thing to see comic book artists pick up the character to take in a new direction via comic books. On March 9th, Captain Carter is getting her very own 5-issue comic book series written by Jamie McKelvey and Marika Cresta. The intriguing part about this Captain Carter is that she is not simply the same one from the MCU Avengers movies or the MCU show What If. This Peggy has gone through a unique version of World War II and then wakes up after 80 years in suspended animation. The world she awakens to is completely different from the one she left behind, and she immediately travels to the UK to try and rebuild her life and catch her bearings. She is immediately thrown into action when attacked by an enemy who is also linked to her past. The writers of the comic book series have labeled it a superhero spy thriller. It's been pointed out that while Steve Rogers was only in suspended animation for 20 years, Peggy was gone for almost 80, making her readjustment period much more difficult than Steve's was. In the comic, despite the fact that she was turned into the super soldier Captain Carter in America and fought World War II alongside the Americans, she is a totally British superheroine. Even her uniform, which is based on an army captain's dress, features the Union Jack and other British icons rather than American ones. One thing is for sure, and that is that this version of Captain Carter is not the same as the one from the What If series, prompting many fans to reconsider their preconceived notions about Peggy entirely. And now let's talk about some Marvel news. First, let's talk about the app Marvel Unlimited. Available on the App Store and on Google Play, Marvel Unlimited gives access to over 29,000 comics, all conveniently available on your mobile device. For only $9.99 a month, you're given access to almost all of the Marvel library dating back to 1961. Marvel Unlimited not only has the classics from back in the day, but features new comics that are exclusive to the app. These newly created app exclusives feature a new vertical scrolling instead of the classic page-turning comics, allowing for a much easier read on a device. The question, is it worth it, gets asked a lot, and the answer is a resounding yes, especially if you enjoy comic books even a little bit. The amount of material that's included for a relatively low price is an astonishingly sweet deal. The subscription also includes Star Wars comics, as it is Disney who owns the rights to to both of these franchises. The value is amazing, and with over 30,000 comics altogether, the amount of entertainment you'll get for just $9.99 a month is unheard of. So if you or someone you know wants to get into comic books, get Marvel Unlimited today for either $69.99 annually or $9.99 a month. Up next in Marvel news, Marvel and DC team up to recreate the classic Justice League Avengers crossover. Written and published back in 2003 by Kurt Busiek and George Perez, the crossover comic book was the last time we saw the DC and Marvel characters together in one book. Perez, who has since passed away, started the Hero Initiative, which is a charitable organization that assists comic creators with medical bills and quality of life issues. He started the organization after he was diagnosed with stage 3 pancreatic cancer and decided against treatment. He explained that he would rather spend the end of his days with family and loved ones and did not want to suffer the chemotherapy and radiation involved with treatment. The comic was originally scheduled to be released in 1983, but after many disputes about editorial issues, it was pushed back 20 years until it finally saw the light of day. It came as a 4-issue series from 2003 to 2004. Then in 2009, when Disney bought Marvel, it seemed like any crossovers between DC and Marvel were never going to happen again. The reprint will be 288 pages, which will include 64 new pages that were not included in the original. The limited edition reprint will only have 7,000 copies and will cost $29.99 each. With only 7,000 copies, $29.99 is a great price for something that will be super collectible in the near future. Look into where you can find a copy today. Now, in Marvel news, let's talk about the upcoming film Moon Knight. Moon Knight is an upcoming adaptation of a Marvel comic book that will be coming to Disney Plus on March 30th, 2022. Star of the movie, Oscar Isaac, said in an interview with Empire magazine, "The idea of getting back to handmade films, character studies, I was desperate for that feeling. It felt handmade, and it's the first legitimate Marvel character study since Iron Man. I thought maybe I can hijack this thing. Maybe this is the chance to do something really nutty on a major stage." The titular character has many quirks and intricacies about him, including dealing with the mental issue of dissociative identity disorder. Isaac stated later in the interview, "What I love most about this thing is that it's an exploration of a mind that doesn't know itself, a human being that doesn't know his own brain. I found that really moving, what the mind is capable of as far as survival, but the workload was massive. The technical challenge of embodying these different characters, physically, the way I manifest my body, it required a lot of energy." Moon Knight follows Stephen Grant, a gift shop employee who realizes he shares his body with an assassin named Mark Spector. The movie follows Grant and Spector as he travels to Egypt and tries to defend himself against everyone who's after him. It should be another amazing ride courtesy of Disney and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Thanks so much for tuning into our video on Captain Carter and other Marvel news. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into just who this new iteration of Captain Carter is and how she differs from the Peggy Carter of the past. Keep an eye out for any new endeavors Marvel is going to take, as they're all so entertaining, each in their own right. Hope you all have a wonderful day and a super rest of your week.